Hello, my mimics, and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary, episode 53. Ladies and gentle mimics, I have a very special episode for you all. We are going to do something I think that's pretty cool, pretty fun, and pretty unique for the series. But before we do, I'm using what I'm calling the false dragon build. We have the, what do we call it, the dragon halberd, which is from the Dragonkin soldiers who were made as like imitations of their skyborn kin, so a fake dragon halberd that uses ice, lightning. We got the Sun Realm shield, you know, representing the Sun Realm, representing the realm of the sun. May the sun shine. We got our Banished Knight helmet. We got the scale armor, you know, from treated rock lizards, so quite not like dragons. We have Radigan's Scar Seal. If you get the opportunity, go on Google and type in Radigan's Braid with no apostrophe, and Google will say, "Did you mean Dragon's Braid?" And then we also have the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman and the Dragon Communion Seal. The Dragon Crest Shield Talisman, because it's giving us damage negation, we got it from here, and it says the same thing as all the other talismans. You know, we know ancient dragons ruled in a prehistoric time for the Erd Tree. Over here, we can see pretty well that the kind of like lake, or you know, lake or ocean, that's the sea level, which is the same here and here, I think, inside and outside, is actually turning into a waterfall into the rest of the ocean, you know, adding to that layer of artificiality of the lands between. Like, this place is being elevated unnaturally, as we've seen with that black stone infrastructure, and you know, we can see that very clearly over here. This is also the lowest divine tower that we can see through the game, and they rotate, spiraling upwards in a clockwise fashion. Last episode, we were doing a lot of beast stuff. We learned that, you know, from Geraint, who's eaten death, who's got a hankering for some death root, who's hiding his identity. We learned about the beasts who gained intelligence and civilization as they felt their wildness take hold as civilization took them, or something like that. What does it say? Having gained intelligence, the beast must have felt how their wildness slipped away as civilization took hold. It is said that in time for the Erd Tree, stones are the first weapons of the beast who had gained intelligence. So there was beasts who gained intelligence. How did they gain intelligence? Well, we found the Cinquedea, and let me equip that real quick. We found the Cinquedea, and this kind of looks like Damascus steel to me. It has that like kind of ripply effect in the metal. I'm colorblind, so somebody's going to have to tell me what color the blade is. I want to say it's gold and red, reminding me of this. Let's see. Is that... It's giving me that color, but again, I'm colorblind. You know, this one is red tinted gold, mirroring the primordial matter that would later become the Erd Tree, and we know that that's Crucible. And then this is for the beasts. We're going to see a similar pattern like the Cinquedea in the future, and it's not going to be this color. It's going to be another color. I think you know what that color is. So this tells us that high-ranking clergymen of Far Missoula, so this is Far Missoula town over here, high-ranking clergymen, and we know that Geraint is a beast clergyman, so we don't know if the clergymen are all beasts, but there's high-ranking clergymen. Maybe they're humans, maybe they're beasts, maybe they're dragons. They get this one, and it was found down here. Perhaps this was Geraint's, perhaps this is another one, another clergyman's dagger. The design celebrates a beast's 5 fingers, symbolic of the intelligence once granted upon their kind. We were looking at the Omen in the Super Deluxe episode, and I said how they're kind of like regressing, like there's regression going on, and they only had 4 fingers, 4 toes, where Margit the Fell Omen has 5 fingers, 5 toes, so he was more intelligent than the Omen. And the interesting thing here is who granted the beasts the intelligence. I think some versions of the game, I don't know if it's a pre-release copy or if it was like, what do you call it? The Japanese text, somewhere it says the Greater Will granted them intelligence, but it doesn't say that anymore. So I don't know if we can make that canon. I don't know if we could say that it is the Greater Will. But we know that something granted them intelligence. And I want us to imagine that it's either that there were beasts, there was no humans, And then the beasts were granted intelligence, and now we have humans. Like, they evolved into humans after their intelligence was granted to them. Or perhaps there were humans, and they granted, or maybe humanoid, sentient life forms, you know, maybe it was a mushroom, maybe it was long-lived, seldom-born beings, like, who knows? We can't say for certain. So, just, they might be parallel tracks. There might be humanoids living amongst the beasts, and then they grant the beast intelligence. Now, a few episodes ago, when we were at the Church of Vows, I did a little thing where we were talking about Velka, goddess of sin, and how the Velka statue is behind Muriel. And we ended the episode right here, and I noticed something very funny. You know, this is not a unique asset to Elden Ring. Elden Ring uses a lot of assets from various games, but this one really jumped out at me. It jumps out just like the statue at Muriel's. So, at the Church of Vows behind Muriel. So if we look at this relief, it looks like flowers all the way around. And then a flower in the center. Maybe a sunflower. This kind of gives me like sunflower petals. If we think about, you know, the sun realm. Let's see, do I have any sunflowers on me? You know, tarnished golden sunflower. That gives me sunflower. That's what I'm saying, sunflower. If we think the sun realm, of course the sun realm would use sunflower iconography. There is tree iconography that we find throughout Farum Azula architecture, and now we know that the city that fell from the sky is Farum Azula. There's tree right there, tree and beasts. Very similar to the tree and beast surcoat. You know, the marriage of the tree and the beast. Except where the golden lineage is using the symbol as beast and tree separately, here we're seeing two beasts intertwined with a tree. So there has been a change within the culture. But this one was very interesting to me. You know, I've been talking about how I'm writing the Mimic video, and I talked a little bit about how, like, there is a bit of a... how I'm trying to, you know, if you like conjoined timeline theories, you might like that video. So to do that video, I've been replaying Dark Souls 3, and let's jump over to Dark Souls 3 real quick, because I found something pretty cool. I haven't finished it yet, still going through it. I haven't played it in a while, so a lot of these little minute things haven't really been like in the front of my mind. There is an interview from George R. R. Martin around when Elden Ring came out or when it was coming out. And he said, oh yeah, I'm working on this game. It's called The Elden Ring, and it's a sequel to this game that they did called Dark Souls.
But the game is called The Elden Ring, and it's a sequel to a video game that came out a few years ago called Dark Souls.
And, you know, people were like, he's such a boomer. He doesn't know that it's just like, it's a spiritual successor. He's calling it a sequel. So I thought, well, maybe he wasn't just doing an old man goof, because when you come to Archdragon Peak, this is where you fight the Nameless King. Nameless King is going to appear in Night Rain. He's seen in one of the trailers. I'll throw that up on the screen right now. This is a place where people try to become dragons, and they worship the dragons here, much like the Sun Realm. And what would you know, that relief that is in Farum Azula, or in the Bestial Sanctum, it's also going to be in Farum Azula when we get there, is right here. However, we can't see the sunflower beneath this, so we can go somewhere else, actually. If we travel to Osiris, the Consumed King, you have to come here first and defeat him to get the emote to get to Archdragon Peak. It requires meditation. You picture the Archdragon Peak in your mind, and then you can go to... you can go there to take the path of the dragons. King Osiris is using the sorceries of the ancient pale drake Seath the Scaleless to make a dragon-human hybrid. And if we come out here, and I fight some dudes, obviously we're doing the Black Swordsman build for Dark Souls 3, and it plays a bit different than, you know, Elden Ring. It's missing out on the guard counters, which I use like very frequently. This is in Castle Lothric. Lothric is where we find the statues of Velka, and I'll show you those too. Okay, we good? And here we go. That's the same relief. And we can actually see a more clear one. Can I get up there? There's another one right here. Okay, so this is the same relief. Lothric, if we were to look at our rings, in Lothric, the knight has long been considered one of the 3 pillars of the king's rule and were thus allowed to rear dragons. Okay, so we know Lothric is a dragon. Dragons are in use in Lothric, and the consumed king is like self-consumed with trying to create a dragon child. And we see this same relief as we find in the Bestial Sanctum, which is a place that worships ancient dragons, and in Archdragon Peak, which is a place that people are attempting to become ancient dragons. All right, maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe that's not enough. If we remember, now I don't have on my PlayStation, I don't have a Dark Souls 1 at a point in the game where I could switch to and show you this. But if you've played Dark Souls 1, I'll throw the image up on the screen so we can discuss this. In the very beginning of Dark Souls 1, we learned that there was nothing. It was just like, what do you call it? It was like stone trees and gray crags and the everlasting dragons. And then the lords found the soul in the first flame. And with the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons, and then the dragons were no more, and then it was the Age of Fire. In Elden Ring, we got the Age of the Erd Tree so far. That's the only age that we know about. And then an age before the Erd Tree, I think. We have the prehistoric time before the Erd Tree. Jack, editing and post here, I wanted to mention that it says in the intro to Dark Souls that it's the Age of the Ancients, and then we get the Age of Fire. And we start thinking about Elden Ring and all of their ages. Wow. So in Dark Souls, we get all that. While playing through the game, you can find this hollowed out tree. And from that hollowed out tree, you go down the hollowed out tree, and you learn that beneath the world that you're playing in, you could find where the ancient dragons were hanging out, in Ash Lake. And you see these stone tree pillars kind of holding up the world above. And, the trees are very important for, tree symbolism, very important for Elden Ring, as we've seen. On the surface of the Lands Between, we see the Erd Tree, obviously. So you find all these minor Erd trees growing around the Lands Between. You have the giant Erd Tree. Then when we go through the Schiefer River Well, we find that there's this whole world down there, buried underneath the earth, and we also see these just like petrified stone trees all over the place. Now, we don't have any indication on how the above ground is being supported by the below ground. So far, the theorization that we're going with is it's this black stone that was built up. But we saw all of those trees down there. In Dark Souls 3, there's a quest that we do involving Anre of Astora, and we come from above ground. All of us come from above ground, and then we go down into these catacombs. And then she's looking for her friend, and her friend turns out to be all the way down there. Actually, there she is right there. There's Anre. We're not going to go. I don't think I'm going to visit her right now. Oh, I hope the fall doesn't kill me. All right, good. It almost killed me. You're supposed to use that as a ladder, but I, screwed up. But you tell her that, yeah, your friend, he's deep underground, and she goes, like, to think that we were already so deep below ground in these catacombs that there could be more below us. And, what is beneath the catacombs? Well, here we go. The big reveal. So, to Anre of Astora, you tell her about the smoldering lake, and she's like, what the hell? There's this, like, giant catacomb that, like, beneath the catacombs, beneath the earth, there's a giant lake, and in that lake are these trees holding up the rest of the world. Okay? Now, to me, if I was just going to use this, I was going to be like, okay, well, maybe what's happening here, if they were connected in some way, the dragon culture. You know, the ancient dragons in Elden Ring and Dark Souls, they're both beings like made of stone. Maybe they're just biding their time, waiting for the world to forget, and they'll rule it again, maybe something like that. But we see, like, here, you know, this tree right here. Is this tree destroyed or is it growing? Part of it looks destroyed, part of it looks like it's growing. It's smoldering, it's on fire. This is supposed to be, I think, you know, Ash Lake from Dark Souls 1, except now, you know, it's the smoldering lake, not very ashy. But we see these trees being built up and holding the world above. This place most likely, you know, to me, I'm thinking, not, the trees didn't grow like underground and then to the ceiling. Like, they grew up and then maybe the ceiling came afterwards. Or it could be the other way around. Who's to say? But to me, that's just very interesting. But that's, you know, that's not where we leave off. So we come to the Grand Archives at Lothric Castle, and we see this statue of a king with a scepter. Most likely Osiris, the consumed king, I would assume. And then we have this statue right here. Who could she be? Maybe she's Caitha, goddess of tears. Maybe she's Queen Lothric. Maybe Caitha, goddess of tears, and Queen of Lothric are the same person. Some people that the Queen of Lothric might be Guinevere. Some people think this might be Velka. Who knows who this woman could be, but let's go show some evidence of who we think she might be. So we come into this little church area. This is where we can summon Egon of Karim, who has the Morning Moan shield or something like that. He also has Arena as part of his quest line, and we see this woman here. We know that since Egon is from the land of Karim, that he worships Caitha. Outside on the balcony over here, we pick up, I've already picked it up, so I can't read it. I can't show you that, but we pick up the red tear stone ring. This stone is said to be the tear of mourning of the goddess Caitha, and of course, tears are always more beautiful near death, and the blue tear stone ring is a tear of sorrow. If we look at some of the other tear items we have, where are my tears? Caressing tears is a tale of many deaths surrounding the goddess Caitha, of whom Morn was a known follower. And then there's also Miracle taught by Morn, the Archbishop's apostle, intended to grant the dying few moments for final farewell. Tears are shed for the sake of the living, more so than the deceased. And when we think of tears and the concept of Elden Ring, we think of the creatures of mimicry, the silver tears, and we also think of Marika and the sacred tears. So there's a lot of tear imagery going on. In Dark Souls 2, there is the like name engraved ring where we get things like Quella, goddess of dream, and then we also get Caitha, the goddess of tears. And I think something on that ring says that, like, perhaps these gods are the same as, like, those in olden times, but their names changed. Something like that. I don't remember exactly. And I hadn't picked this item up yet, but this is kind of showing that this area is related to Caitha, and that those statues are supposed to be Caitha, the goddess of tears. And if we look at what we got, Sacred Chime blessed by Caitha, goddess of tears, rare even amongst Karim clerics, affected by intelligence, a rare thing for miracle catalysts, and also agreeable with mirics that lean towards the dark. Its existence is concealed in the name of the Archbishop, as it is an anathema. Anathema? Anathema. I always have trouble with that word. So now we know that Caitha, her miracles are tied to intelligence, and in Dark Souls 1, Velka's miracles are tied to intelligence. Velka is also the goddess of sin, and her the blades of the dark moon hunt down the guilty. There's a lot of stuff down about that. The praise the sun emote. The praise the sun emote. This one, arms up. That's praising the sun. When you meet the pardoner Oswald of Karim, he does the opposite. His arms are pointed down, and we'll show that on the screen. Velka's miracles being tied to dark and needing intelligence. Caitha is being tied to dark and needing intelligence. Darkness is also tied to humanity in Dark Souls. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any of the items on me, except maybe Dark Edge. Passed from mother to daughter. Oh, strikes with blade form of humanity's darkness. Passed from mother to daughter, this blade was intended for both protection and as a means of taking one's own life. The young girl never swung it more than once. A lot of interesting things there. This was the chameleon spell. Lost sorcery of Ulusil, land of ancient golden sorceries, transforms into something inconspicuous. Oh no, I'm getting invaded by Goober. Far from formally developed, this magic was instead born of the mischief of a young girl who sought relief from the solitude of the woods at dusk. Dusk could also be known as twilight, could also be known as like a gloam hour. And let me fight this guy, and then we'll get back to the last thing I wanted to say. Oh, Blade of Dark Moon Gwendolyn. Blade of the Dark Moon Gwendolyn. Perfect. The Velka's son. Velka's son, his blade is here to help me. So we did a little Dark Souls detour. We're saying, maybe Elden Ring takes place in the same universe as Dark Souls. Maybe it's the cycle repeating all over again, and some things are just holdover. The world keeps getting built onto these trees, and maybe some people are left behind, like Velka disguised as Caitha, maybe disguising herself as Marika. But where do we get that idea? How could the goddess Marika, I don't know, how could she be Velka? If we were to come to, wow, my health bar is so small in Elden Ring. Man, I really need to level up bigger, huh? So we come here and we get this place with magic mirrors and pictures of Marika. And in the magic mirror, you could change your name. You could change your appearance. Can I change my name here? Yeah, I could change my name. I don't have to be called Jack. I could be, I could be the Mimic. Oh, that's just the. No longer is this character Jack. He is now the Mimic. I could change what he looks like. I got presets. I could change the gender. This is supposed to be like a Targaryen. But we're gonna keep this look. We're just gonna change his name. So it's very possible. It's very possible that perhaps Marika, if we wanted to do a combined theory, like combining all the games together, which Night Rain looks like it's going to be doing. Maybe Marika is Velka, all the way back from Dark Souls 1, and she's trying to enact some plan, and it takes a very long time for that plan to come through. She's got to go through a lot of sets of gods, a lot of sets of royalty, different layers. What's beneath the ancient dynasty? So far, we look under the lines between, we find this ancient dynasty. What's beneath that? Is Dark Souls underneath there? I don't know. Could be. So yeah, that was that little side episode. Just trying to workshop my Mimic video. So I just wanted to play around with a few of those ideas and see what you all think. That one I'm still writing. Every time someone mentions when the Night of the Black Knives happened, it triggers me, and I have to keep rewriting my script to make sure it covers everything perfectly in the way that I need it to be. All right, next episode. We're going to do the Magic Mirror. Then we'll do the Black Knife Catacombs. All right, everybody. You know the drill. Let's do the thing.